part of the chronic illness series.
If you guys don't know, we are going to go into an in-depth review and explain what our chronic health issues are. And not just what we have, but in general, what narcolepsy is, how Crohn's disease is, POTS, everything about it. I hope you guys enjoy this new series that we're doing.
So stay tuned. We are going to be talking about narcolepsy. Before we get started, I wanted just to let you guys know narcolepsy symptoms can vary from person to person.
Now, narcolepsy is a neurological sleep disorder that involves the decreased ability to regulate sleep-wake cycles. It can be characterized by excessive daytime sleepiness, sleep paralysis, hallucinations, and in some cases, cataplexy. Now, the boundaries between sleep and wakefulness are blurred, causing a person to feel sleepy and fatigued during the day. They can also have very vivid dreamlike hallucinations, which are very real while you're going through them, as well as paralysis while falling asleep and waking up. And you can also experience disrupted nighttime sleep. So just because you are very excessively tired and fatigued during the day, when you try to go to sleep at night, you still can't sleep either.
We have many more chronic illnesses that we do talk about and that we do go through, so check them out in the description box.
And again, guys, we know everyone says it to you. Please like, share, subscribe. It truly means a lot to us, and it really does help our channel get that much further, that much out there, so more and more people can find our channel and we can try to spread as much awareness as possible.
So, there are two different types of narcolepsy. There is type 1 narcolepsy with cataplexy, which is what I have. Then there's type 2 narcolepsy without cataplexy.
Simple as that.
For type 1 out there, any of you guys type 1, people with narcolepsy with cataplexy experience sudden muscle weakness and lose control of the muscles in their face, arms, legs, and torso. This causes the person to slur their words, have jagged jaw, collapse, or slump over, and sometimes unable to move.
Now, cataplexy can be brought on by sudden excitement, sudden fear. So if you're watching like a horror movie, something scares you, you can slump over and fall. If something's going on, it can happen while you're standing, sitting, even laying down. It can happen at any moment. Now, narcolepsy with cataplexy is caused by a lack of a chemical hypocretin in the brain. Hypocretin is an important chemical for regulating wakefulness and rapid eye movement sleep, or also known as REM sleep. Now, there's also narcolepsy type 2, which is basically the same thing, just with no cataplexy.
Exactly. So, like I said before, I experienced narcolepsy with cataplexy, which is type 1. For the longest time, actually, I didn't think I had it because I had my best friend's sister who had the possible worst case of narcolepsy with cataplexy.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt, since I didn't have it as extreme as her, that I didn't have it. My doctor kind of slapped that reality into me and was like, that is not true. So guys, I have cataplexy. So I have it in my hands. It is very subtle. You can never tell, but I feel the weakness. But it comes back within seconds. And whenever I do lose muscle tone in my hands, that is usually whenever I'm scared, stressed, or anxious. Another thing I do have is cataplexy in my legs. Whenever I do find something hilarious, I drop to the floor, and Orion, my service dog, comes to me and alerts and helps me get back up. Or he stays on the floor with me as long as I need until I finally gain consciousness of my legs again.
Plus cuddles.
Yes. So now, what are the symptoms when it comes down to narcolepsy? There are a couple things, such as excessive daytime sleepiness, automatic behavior, disrupted nighttime sleepiness, sleep paralysis, and then hallucinations. So, excessive daytime sleepiness is mostly common, one of the most common symptoms with narcolepsy. People with narcolepsy moderately or severely are tired during the day. They have a difficulty concentrating, staying awake, or even falling asleep at night. You may have trouble staying awake for long periods of time and fall asleep during daytime activities. This is a very dangerous problem because people with narcolepsy can fall asleep during an activity like driving, walking, or even cooking. With that being said, we have automatic behavior.
Now, automatic behavior is when some people fall asleep while actually performing an activity and continue the activity with no memory of it later on. Now, these activities can be walking, putting things away, eating, and even in some extreme cases, driving.
Sadly, my sister also had narcolepsy, and she had this really bad. She drove when she shouldn't have been driving, but she couldn't help it. She was asleep.
She had no idea when the onset when it was coming on, and she did have the service dog, but it did happen. So there's also disrupted nighttime sleep. Now, this is associated with narcolepsy, and it means you often fall asleep very quickly, but you wake up very frequently throughout the night. It can leave you unable to sleep for a few minutes or a few hours.
And then another one is sleep paralysis. This is a normal muscular paralysis associated with rapid eye movement. But sadly, it occurs at the wrong time of night, or whenever you're waking up or falling asleep. Although the paralysis usually only lasts for a few seconds, it can be very frightening, especially in combinations with hallucinations.
Now, there is two different types of hallucinations that you can experience. There's the hypnopompic hallucinations, which happen while you are waking up, and the hypnagogic hallucinations, which happen while you are falling asleep. Now, these hallucinations can be very, very vivid and dreamlike, and they make it that much scarier.
So out of these symptoms, what I experience is excessive daytime sleepiness, disrupted nighttime sleepiness. I feel like I get that really bad. Sleep paralysis and hallucinations. But for me, I get hallucinations when I am falling asleep. Thankfully, I have never experienced automatic behavior, not that I'm aware of.
Not really, no.
Those are the things that I suffer from. And definitely if you have narcolepsy, you may suffer from a couple of these things as well.
Or all of them.
Yep.
Every person is a case-by-case basis.
So possible triggers, I can only say from my experience.
Of course.
Which is, honestly guys, I'll tell you a little secret, is my emotions. If I am stressed, I have noticed my hallucinations get worse. If I am angry, it seems like paralysis comes out. And usually whenever I'm happy or joyful, I do feel like the cataplexy catches on. I have heard other narcoleptic stories and heard how they have dealt with it. And a lot of narcoleptics actually try to stay away from emotions. That triggers them, and they try really hard not to get scared, not to even smile, laugh, anything. So if that's something you feel like you possibly struggle with, this could be something to look into.
Cataplexy is the sudden loss of muscle tone that causes feelings of weakness and loss of involuntary muscle control. By itself, cataplexy could actually be wrongfully diagnosed as a seizure disorder. The severity of cataplexy varies from person to person. It can be mild where you feel slightly weak, for example, but you are able to hold yourself up still, and can get to the extremes where you fall on the floor and are unable to get up and have control of some or your entire body.
Your PCP will refer you to a specialist, such as a pulmonologist or even a neurologist. For me, I was able to see a pulmonologist who was able to help me get a diagnosis. As well, I was able to go to Mayo Clinic and find out even more of my sleep disorder.
Now, there are different methods for diagnosing narcolepsy and determining the severity of it as well. It'll start off with your sleep history. A simple questionnaire with your doctor, and they're going to ask you, what is your sleep history like? After that, they're may ask you to record some of your sleep as well. How long you sleep, how often, and how do you feel before and after. After all of these things are said and done, your doctor from then may tell you we need to do a sleep study, also called a polysomnograph. This is a test to measure a variety of signals during sleep using electrodes placed all over your scalp. You look like an alien with all these wires coming down, but that's what it's for. You must spend the night at a medical facility, and this is going to measure the electrical activity of both your brain, your heart, movements of your muscle, movements of your eyes, and this measures your breathing as well. From those results, your doctor can determine if you have narcolepsy or not. Sometimes you may also need to do a multiple sleep latency test, which Usually is going to be the polysomnograph at night, and then you're going to have to stay during the daytime in the facility as well to do this sleep latency test. This examination is going to measure how long it takes you to fall asleep during the day. You'll be asked to take 4 to 5 naps. Each nap can be about 2 hours apart, and the specialists will observe your sleep patterns. People who have narcolepsy fall asleep easily and enter into rapid eye movement or REM sleep quickly.
Now, it's not uncommon for somebody with a sleep disorder to have multiple sleep studies.
Yeah.
I think I've had about 5 sleep studies done everywhere. Done them in Mayo Clinic, done them with 2 other doctors, and they are uncomfortable. So my recommendation for you guys, if you guys are going to do a sleep study, ask for a morning and night sleep study. It's horrible when you have to go back to back to back, do a night, then a morning, then morning, night. Just try to get it all in one, guys.
And they can actually just do both of them at once. Like I said, the nighttime sleep study, which you stay overnight, and then followed after, you continue to stay in the medical facility, and they do the multiple sleep latency test. The doctor sometimes will want to do one or the other to kind of, maybe you don't need everything, but it sounds bad. Just do it all at once and get it over with.
Now, how I got diagnosed was, honestly, we weren't even looking for a sleep disorder
Not at all.
diagnosis at all. The doctor just asked, how's your sleep? And from there, I just described it. And I guess how I described my sleep was abnormal. And immediately I had to go and see a sleep specialist. There are different treatment plans when it comes down to narcolepsy. What works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. So these are all just recommendations. And as well, some of these medications you may have to do in combination. Everybody is different. So for narcolepsy, there are a couple of different treatments, such as medication, stimulants, and then antidepressants. I don't know how to name this one, sodium oxybate. We're gonna give it the generic name for now. So when it comes down to stimulants, it just depends on you and your body and what works. Personally, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I have tried Provisual, New Visual, Adderall, Ritalin, but those are the ones I have tried, and those are the ones that are usually commonly recommended to wake up narcoleptics during the day.
Some of these medications can actually be very addicting. I know that Ritalin is one of those medications that it is classified as a very high addiction level.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
So with these medications, everything is trial and error. Now, another medication they may put you on is antidepressants. Now, the antidepressants aren't a stimulant or help you sleep, but they do help mitigate the feelings and the effects that you get of cataplexy. Now, the problem with some of these antidepressants is a lot of people do not like the side effects of it, which you can get like lightheaded, dry mouth, and stuff like that. And some people don't like being on them for that reason.
Now, the next medication that we are going to be talking about is a little bit more intense. It is a controlled substance, so you definitely want to talk to your doctors about taking it or even the idea of taking it.
And the worst part is, this is not a medication you can go get at your local pharmacy. I think there's only 1 or 2 pharmacies in the country that fill this medication.
So, the brand name of this medication is Xyrem, the generic name sodium oxybate. This medication is highly effective for cataplexy. Sodium oxybate helps to improve nighttime sleepiness, which is often poor in narcoleptics. In high dose, it may also help control daytime sleepiness as well. It must be taken in 2 doses, one at bedtime and then another dose maybe 4 hours later.
Now, Xyrem can have some side effects, such as nausea, bedwetting, worsening of sleepwalking, and taking sodium oxybate together with other sleeping medications, such as narcotic pain relievers and alcohol, can lead to difficulties breathing, coma, and even death. So that's why this is a medication that is extremely controlled, and it has to be monitored extremely closely by your doctors, because this is a medication that you can overdose very quickly on. Now, mind you, for those of you who do not understand how effective sodium oxybate or Xyrem is, it's basically a medication that knocks you out. it's a medication. It's a heavy sedative medication.
Another way people associate Xyrem is roofies. It is the roofie medication. That is literally what narcoleptics need to get that restful sleep. So, like I said before, I have tried stimulants. They didn't work out for me. Sadly, they were supposed to wake me up. I mainly fell asleep on them. So then the next thing was an antidepressant. Sadly, it wasn't as strong as it needed to be for a narcoleptic. Another issue I also faced with having a medication such as that, an antidepressant, on my medication list, I got a lot of judgment.
Yes. They put you in a box.
Yes.
And we would go to the emergency room for something completely unrelated, maybe to her POTS or something else. And they would see this medication on there, and they'll be like, oh, it's because you have anxiety and depression. That's your reason why you're here, and that's it. So they would put her inside of a box in a label and would not take her seriously at all.
But the funny thing is that I've never been diagnosed with any of these conditions by an actual doctor. That medication was meant for narcolepsy, but it was still not looked good on my end. And I have also tried Xyrem. Yes, tried it. I am no longer on it. Sadly for me, the side effects were much greater than the benefits.
Yeah.
It made me throw up much more. It made my abdominal pain intense.
Nausea.
I had horrible nausea and then diarrhea. Now for others, it is life-changing. It is amazing. Once again, my sister, whose information will be in below as well, guys, she took it and she always said it was life-changing for her, and I am so happy that it made a difference for her. But for me, I could not take it. So as you guys just heard, I've tried all these options and they didn't work out for me. So you may be wondering, are you on a treatment plan for your narcolepsy? Well, right now I am actually trying much more of a natural way of doing it. I'm actually doing medical cannabis and it has helped a lot. So first you definitely want to see your PCP, and from there they're going to be able to refer you to a sleep specialist. It can either be a pulmonologist or a neurologist.
Now, this affects me in a lot of different ways because it can be very unpredictable and there's nothing you can do about it once it hits. We do have to reschedule dates, family events, family outings, and I'm always understanding, I'm always willing to help Janice, but it can put your life on pause for a few moments, but we will never let it slow us down. You have to take advantage of the good days and try to adhere to a schedule as much as possible, and that's pretty much how we have to do it.
Another way it does affect Paul is that when I cannot sleep at night, I will not lie, guys, I don't let him sleep at night either. About me not being able to sleep at night, I feel like, it sounds crazy, it's one of the worst symptoms I go through. It's like a mental battle.
But then she doesn't let me sleep. She'll be like, Pa, and I'll wake up, I'm like, what is going on? And then she's like, I can't sleep. And I'm like, okay. And I try to go back to sleep, and then she doesn't let me. And then I'm like, all right, fine, let's wake up. Let's watch some TV or something, and I'll be there with her. And then like within 13 seconds, I'm out again. I can't. I literally can't. Unless it's like an emergency. If it's not anything that I have to be awake for, I'm not going to be awake for it.
Yeah. The misconceptions, honestly, that I deal with, guys, is usually when I say I am narcoleptic, they usually just say, oh, I'm also tired too. I must have it because I'm always tired.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm gonna be honest, it is not the same thing. For a normal person to understand what a narcoleptic goes through, they need to stay up 72 hours to realize that's how we feel in just one day.
How the tired, the fatigue, the not rested, that's how narcoleptics feel for someone like us. Now, excessive daytime sleepiness for other people can be caused by a lot of other things and other sleep disorders, such as sleep apnea, major depressive disorder, anemia, heart failure, if you drink a lot of alcohol, or honestly, if you just don't get enough sleep. All of those things can also lead you to feeling really sleepy during the daytime.
Alright guys, I hope we educated you guys a lot on sleep disorders, and if you have any information, want to get educated a lot more, check in the links below. They're definitely going to be helpful for you guys.
A lot of people get misdiagnosed with other issues when they really have narcolepsy, and it can put a hold on your life and your treatment. And ultimately, we want to make sure that as many people get the treatment that they need and to continue their life and have a good quality of life at the same time.
So guys, stay tuned for much more chronic illness vlogs. For now, adieu and goodbye!